Right, let's have a little look then. Just checking that we're live. If you've just come onto the live, do say hello.
Hello.
Um, let's go turn you down a bit, Dave. Let's have a little look. All good. Okay, just gonna check that we're live. See if Lauren, our social yeti, is on. Let's have a look.
We're always live. Yeah, we are.
You good? You got
I've had the notification.
great stuff. We're in finally. Cool. Right. Yeah. Hey everyone. Andy and Dave here, all the way from EverTrek HQ. So another Tuesday tuning. Yeah, it's been a mad week, isn't it, Dave? It's after the competition last week.
Yeah, pretty busy. I haven't left the office. So no, it's been awesome. Yeah, it's really good. I see people are there. Hey, Chris, Reese, Kate, Dave, Patrick, Simon.
Yeah, nice to see all the usuals on. But yeah, if you have joined us, just give us a little thumbs up and say hello. It's always nice to see who's on. And
Yeah.
as always, these are Q&A sessions. So we're here for you guys. Any question at all to do with any of our trips or anything really, as always, just comment with them. And me and Dave will discuss them. So yeah. Dave, what's today about?
Right. Well, today is about a subject that I know is very close to your heart, or rather your lungs. And it's one that it came up in conversation a few times now. We've had quite a few emails this week about people asking about how certain conditions, but primarily asthma, can actually affect your health at high altitude, and whether the two are connected, and whether having asthma means that you can no longer go to a low oxygen environment like Everest Base Camp or Kilimanjaro. And Andy's here to basically tell you all about it, because he is a lifetime asthma sufferer. I'm not, but it's really good to have Andy here and to be able to talk to people, because the information that I'm getting a lot of is that people, they've not done Kilimanjaro for years because they've automatically assumed because they have asthma that they can't do it. But I don't think that's necessarily the case, right, Ant?
Yeah, exactly. Cheers, Dave. It's one of those. I mean, the thing is that the reason we're discussing it today is it's cropped up a lot over the last sort of few weeks, really, and we've had several emails just dropping in, and it's a common theme. We've on these lives we've talked loads about equipment, mindset, fitness. We did a lot of different things, and we thought, well, we haven't really talked about this kind of side of things, really. So asthma is a big one. I've been suffering it since I was born. It's just one of those things. It kind of, I'd say, years ago, it sort of held me back fitness-wise until I was an adult. They do say you kind of grow out of it. I've been unfortunate. I've never really grown out of it. But when it comes to high altitude, it's I know I've written sort of pieces before about it. There's a good article on the website, actually, on the Knowledge Center. But today, so asthma is, there's different forms of it, different levels. Some people have it very, very mild. Some people get it from cold. Some people get it from dust, or allergies. There's lots of different sort of ways that can trigger asthma. But when you're at high altitude, it is a natural conception. You think, okay, you go into a more oxygen deprived environment, it should be harder for asthmatics, right? That's where naturally our brains are thinking. But actually it's kind of the opposite. I thought the biggest thing that put me off from years ago from going to the Himalayas was, will I be all right? Will I be safe? I remember I was sitting on a beach in Thailand reading Into Thin Air years ago, and I was thinking, I wonder how I would be if I was at high altitude. Anyway, fast forward to when I first went to high altitude, which was Everest Base Camp. And I was surprised to find that it was actually okay. It was no difference to being at sea level. If I got out of breath, like you would if you were, like me and Dave, if you're out of breath going uphill, you kind of slow down. And if I needed my inhaler, which, on the first time I went to high altitude, I didn't use it once. It wasn't triggered at all. I mean, there's been times since that I've been at high altitude and I've had to take it because maybe my body's been a bit weaker. Sorry, Dave, I'm just going deep into it now. I feel like
You carry on.
So it is a big thing. And I mean, anyone that's watching, I just wanted to sort of reassure you that, look, as long as you've got it sort of under control, that you've got your medication, and if you're going on a high altitude trip, that you take that with you, and it's exactly the same process as if you were hiking at sea level.
Yeah.
There is some science actually, just to go into it, that asthmatics do perform really well because in the different parts of the lungs. I hope I'm almost accurate now. I've spoken to a few doctors about this, and you've got different sort of sections of your lungs. I remember I used to do sort of free diving, and I was never the best because unfortunately my lungs aren't as good as most people. But they used to say that there's a couple of parts of your lungs that kind of aren't used very often, but breath hold divers do use that, because they've trained how to do it. But basically, when you're at high altitude, your body uses the best parts of your lungs because it maximizes the proficiency of it. And I think with asthmatics, because we've already got that issue, where our bodies have to normally on a day-to-day basis use the best part of your lungs. Yeah. It's almost like second nature. So I think, and people have climbed Everest with asthma. Obviously, they've got to Everest Base Camp, Kilimanjaro. So yeah, it's definitely a biggie. So I just wanted to sort of front load that really, the live today, that although we're going to do questions around it, and normally, as ever, Dave, we'll talk about one subject, we'll still get onto boots.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, all of you guys here that want to ask about boots, bags, tents, all of that stuff, feel free. It's always an open forum, but no, yeah, it's always interesting, I think, to hear about that because what it kind of leads on to is, that everyone has like anxieties and fears about going on. Well, not everyone, but a significant amount of people do.
Yes.
I noticed Max is on here as well. A big thing for him was fear of heights.
Good to see you, Max.
I've lost count of the amount of telephone calls I've had with people where we discuss, the exposure and heights and what the bridge crossings are like and stuff like that. Yeah. But ultimately, I think what we want to try and do, because anyone that's interested in anything like an adventure travel experience, Kilimanjaro, Everest, Machu Picchu, anything like that, they've always got the one thread that we've all got in common is we all have that sense of adventure lurking in the back of our head, driving us through this sort of thing. And I believe that nurturing that part of your body and that part of your brain can help you overcome almost anything. I mean, clearly, if you have asthma or anything like that, go see your doctor beforehand, and get whatever medication, help, and advice you need from a healthcare professional. But don't let it override that adventurous part of the brain that's like pushing you to do these amazing things. Because every time I think that we've reached sort of what's physically possible, some crazy person will come along and completely change my mindset on it. Like there was a guy, Iron Cowboy something his name is, I want to say Jones, but I don't know if it is Jones, 50 Ironman triathlons in 50 states in 50 days, and then Nims, all 14 of the 8,000 does in under 7 months, so whatever you guys do, we can usually find a way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. So I know some questions just cropping up already. This is great, guys. Yeah, I say any questions, any of you watching the live, great to see some of you on. Kate, Max. Yesterday, just to drop in Wales, the national parks were open yesterday.
Yep.
And myself and Max, who's just joined us on the live, we went out and took on one of our sort of favorite peaks. And it was just nice to get out. First time in 4 months that we were out in the mountains. So well overdue, but it was fantastic. And all of you, I know it's kind of strange because it shouldn't be this way. I believe this, but I know all the different countries in the UK are kind of having their staggered lockdown releases. But enjoy that first hike when you get out. It's amazing.
I'm still waiting for a haircut, to be fair.
Well, you've been waiting for that for 2 years, Dave. So
But 13th of July, I think we're going to open up like shops and hairdressers and things like that, and that's going to be a big sort of red letter day in my life, I think, when I can find it.
Yeah, definitely. I'll bring you some questions. So I think we got one from Carla.
Yeah.
Carla's here. I'm just trying to find a question because our social Yeti Lauren is just dropping in the question. So let's have a little look. Where's Carla? Can you see Carla on there, Dave? Maybe she's dropped it in.
Yeah, I can see Carla Harrison. So it's on Messenger. So what's the minimum age restrictions on the Toupgal trek?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, with any of our trips, if you're going solo, you have to be over 18. But generally, we're happy to have a conversation around it. We get some people who book their trips to, say, Everest Base Camp, and they're taking like a 12-year-old. But it always depends on the actual child. Yeah. I know some 12-year-olds that probably wouldn't be comfortable on a mountain, and you've got others that are absolutely hardcore. I mean, I think the youngest person that climbed Everest was 12, which is pretty crazy. I think it's 12 anyway, 14, one of the two. But anyway, it just depends on the child. So definitely get in touch with us, Carla, if because it's just good to have a conversation, and ultimately the decision comes down to you.
Yeah.
As long as they're insured, as long as you think that they're comfortable. Mount Toubkal is, I say, easy. It touches altitude at say 4,160 meters, I think it is. But you're not there for long. It is a tough hike, but you're up and down quite quickly. Altitude doesn't really come into it that much. It's a good, test for the first stage to feel what altitude's like if you haven't felt it before. But normally you can get down really quick. You're relatively close to villages that are literally, not far away. You've got the Berber villages. You've got Imlil, which isn't too far away. From the refuge, if you like, from the base of Toubkal. Yeah. There's if anything, if you get uncomfortable, you can obviously come back down. But it's a cool. Yeah, so definitely, Carla, let's have a chat about it if you want to, and we can chat about maybe a time of year that might be easier, because I definitely think summer might be better than winter. Just thinking the age, because of the winter conditions are a bit challenging. I think any other questions, Dave?
So let's have a quick look now. Olivia.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
Wow.
All-time favorite climb trek. That's a tough
for you, Dave.
To be honest, I think I would probably say the first time I reached Everest Base Camp was the biggest. Well, it's the one that certainly had the biggest impact on my life since.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's almost split in hairs, really, because summiting Kili for the first time is amazing.
Yeah.
But I think the first time that I ever went to Everest Base Camp was like a realization of a lot of different things in one crowning moment. So I'd wanted to see Everest all my life. I'd wanted to visit Nepal and trek there all my life, and summit mountains out there. And I think for the majority of my sort of life, I don't know why, but I had assumed that it wouldn't happen, that it was something that other people did. And then to find myself actually stood on the Khumbu Glacier right by the icefall, looking up at Everest and realizing that actually these things are doable. Not just by elite mountaineers and altitude junkies, but by everyday people, like myself. And just getting out in the hills with a pack on my back. It was amazing. That's probably the best one for me.
Yeah, I think it's kind of weird because, you're right. Like, having just done Kili is one of the best experiences ever. Reaching the summit and seeing that sunrise, it definitely gets you emotional. But I think, for me, because, again, going back to the asthma side of it, because I wanted to prove to myself that I could get to high altitude, I think, and the first time for me was Everest Base Camp and the history that goes around it. I think for me, it's Everest Base Camp.
Yeah.
Again, that's because of my personal story, but, whether you could do Kili or Everest Base Camp or Machu Picchu or any peak, it's your own, I say your own Everest, it's a cliche, but it's really what you get out of it. And any trip you go on will be amazing. But I would say, why don't you go on both? Why don't you go on them and try them, and then you can tell us what your favorite is.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope that answered your question, Olivia. And good question to start off there. Thank you. Mark makes a good point here. I know you briefly touched on it just while we're talking about asthma. Mark mentions about assisting your doctor, or Dave, I know you mentioned. And as a professional trekking company, we always say, look, if there's any medical issues, chat to your GP first or a high altitude doctor. Our advice here always comes from experience, but we've got relationships with doctors, with like people at the altitude center who use science-based approach. So that's where our advice comes from, and personal approach as well. But I appreciate everyone is different.
Exactly.
And before making that decision, maybe if that's what you want, go and see your doctor. If it gives you that peace of mind.
It's also sort of links in with who was asking about the youngest age? When you're taking someone who's younger than 18, who's not sort of in the eyes of the law an adult or able to make informed decisions. Adventure travel, like going to altitude, particularly like the really high, like Kilimanjaro. It's one of those things where people need to understand that it's not completely risk-free. There is an element of sort of risk whenever you go to high altitude with what can happen to the body and things like that. So when you are taking someone who you're responsible for, it's knowing that fact before you go, so you can make an informed decision about the person who's actually going to be with you.
Exactly.
Having said that, you know, most young kids, teenagers these days, who run circles around us, you know.
They're quite, yeah.
The only difference is whether they're sort of aware of what they're getting themselves into, you know. I certainly wouldn't take a toddler up Kilimanjaro, for instance, or anything like that.
No. But yeah, Dave, good for joining. Thanks for joining us again, mate. You mentioned about leaving a small flag to BBC. Photo ops. Yeah, I mean, you know, I've seen people do this loads of times, leaving a memorial, because some people, you know, again, if it's an emotional story, I know some people left pictures of people who've passed on, you know, wrote on the rocks, you know, whatever is good. I mean, we always like to approach it from you know, we don't want to leave anything there really, you know, because, you know, leave only footprints, you know, take any photos sort of thing. But look, if it's got that much meaning to you and you want to, then there's no harm. I mean, there's flags there anyway. You know, it's a very clean place. We want to keep it that way. But Dave, if it's something that you want to do, then, you know, we've got no dramas around that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I'd recommend for people is, so I was having this chat with some guys on the phone the other day. We're talking about taking a football scarf and leaving it there. Yeah. And obviously, you know, everybody's got different passions and things like that. My thing is, you know, if you're going to go there and take a scarf or something, take a photo. That'd be awesome. But if you want to leave a memorial there, what you can do is pick up a rock at the beginning of the trail. So as you go through the archway in Lukla, pick up a rock and you can write something on the rock.
Yeah.
Carry it with you to base camp and put it there.
It's a great idea.
You know, you're not taking anything or leaving anything. You're just moving it slightly. You know,
I like that.
Do that. Hey, namaste, Padam as well. Padam's
on, isn't it? Yeah, great stuff. Great to see one of our guys, Padam, on here.
Yeah, well, very experienced guide from Nepal. A few of you, I think Ramona might have been with Padam.
She was, on her first trek with us. She's going to, I know she's on a training weekends, but she's booked in all the other trips with us as well. So excited to have you with us.
Yeah.
Leah has mentioned a couple of questions, but ever had an asthmatic whose trigger was the cold? Yeah, I mean, it's for me, mine has always been the cold, cold and exercise. Those are the two things that for me. And so you know, if that's a normal trigger for you, what I used to do is wear like a neck buff, or if you're wearing a big jacket, so the cover comes up around here, always usually helps. The neck buff is big. It keeps the dust out, and it keeps, you know, you're almost looking after the core here just by having a neck buff. So that kind of helps definitely. But again, Leah, it's the same as if you're in the UK or abroad or Australia, US, South Africa, wherever you're from. It's the same as where you're hiking. Just make sure you keep that neck buff on. And how you approach it at sea level will be the same way as you approach it at altitude. Obviously, there's going to be some cold nights, you know, but it's never stopped anyone from doing it.
Yeah.
I
just two comments here. Nigel says he's loving the tanker paintings. Thank you very much. So if I show you sort of the wall,
that's your board of love, isn't it?
That's the wall of love. So I've got the deity up there. That's a hand painted, the black and white with the red. That's Everest. And then other tankers and my mandala. And this is my Kili Summit certificate. But then
you'll get one of those if you book on.
Else has announced when will the new Yeti be announced? And I'm assuming, I mean, I think I know what you're on about, but I'm going to pretend you're on about the Yeti that we asked you to name. You can't see it, but this is now a name here. This is now it's been chosen Betty the Yeti.
Yeah, Betty the Yeti. I think they're on about the actual new Yeti that will.
Oh no, I am aware of that, and I am aware of that. But it's an opportunity.
I know Betty the Yeti is important to you, mate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we need to prioritize here. New staff is one thing, but this is Betty.
Olivia's asked another question about you know, is it mostly people from the UK, mix of internationals, and how many in a group? Good questions. So yes, you know, most people, because we're based in the UK, and we primarily had loads of UK customers, but we've had loads of groups from the US, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Netherlands, Poland. We've you know, over the last sort of 12, 18 months, we've kind of opened up a little bit and trying to expand. And at the end of the day, because we're a land-only operator, if you like, it doesn't matter where you come from. And, you know, we're an inclusive company. It doesn't matter where you're from. Everyone has a laugh, has a great time. We've had some great mixed groups. you know, in terms of how many in a group. So yeah, it depends. We usually cap our trips at sort of 15. We've had to, due to COVID quite recently, we've had to almost think a little bit because of sort of lack of dates, and we had to move people. For instance, from Nepal, there was like 250, 300 people who couldn't go last April and May and summer March. So they've now moved into sort of autumn and then into next year. So what we've done is we kind of run two groups parallel, you know, but generally it's 15 people is kind of the max. But on average, I'd say, Dave, 8 to 12 on average group size?
8 to 12, yeah, depending on the trip, you know. So if
Yeah.
it's like, Everest Base Camp or Kili, you can pretty much expect 12-ish. Say ish because it might be 13 or 14, but generally 12. If it's like 3 peaks or Gokyo, maybe about 8.
Yeah, it's usually a bit smaller, isn't it? Yeah.
And then if it's like Ultimate Island Peak, that's like 1 to 4 usually. But sometimes we have like a group of 10, but you know, on average, 1 to 4. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, whilst Olivia's on here, because she's coming up with some great questions, and we will go through everyone's questions. But I thought this was a good one to answer, Dave. This is a good one for you. Was it? What happens if you have anxiety? Is it common for those with anxiety with regards to breathing? Is it any?
So yeah. So I totally get the question, Olivia. So myself have had a generalized anxiety condition diagnosed since I was 18.
Yeah.
So I certainly am familiar with the problem. I think that controlling the anxiety when you're out there it's a bit of a difficult one. So I suppose if you have an anxiety attack at altitude, it's going to be harder to catch your breath, but it's about managing it all the way for me, you know. Yeah. So basically day by day, step by step, you know, I talk to people. If I'm feeling anxious or something like that, I'll pull someone aside. It's usually I'm sharing a room with Andy, and I'll just say, oh man, I had a bad day or whatever like that. Honestly, I think if you just focus on the reason, why you actually booked the trip and why you're there. You know, remember I was saying about that sense of adventure that's in the back that can get overridden by the fears that people have. Well, that comes from a lot of personal experience because it's, you know, I could have maybe gone to Everest Base Camp 10 years earlier than I did had I not let those fears like overrun my decision making. But now I think it's about having that sense of adventure, relaxing and accepting the environment that you're in, and also just educating yourself beforehand, you know, so you're not really surprised by anything. Altitude is going to make you feel weird. You know, your body is going to not react the same way as it does at sea level, but that's nothing to panic about, you know. Everything will return to normal as soon as you come down. So yeah, I think I try and concentrate on the fun aspect of it. I concentrate on the social aspect. I'll talk to people, and if I do start to feel like I'm having an anxiety attack or a panic attack in any scenario, the first thing that I'll do is just acknowledge it right off the bat and talk to someone about it, you know, and talk it through with someone. I know it's incredibly hard and not everybody's the same, but I think that trying to suppress those feelings doesn't really do much. To me, it's like shaking up a fizzy bottle with the lid on. Every time you suppress it, it just gets ready to go. Where if I am feeling unhappy, I mean, I'll give you an example. So April 2019, I had shingles before. And I went to base camp, probably still with, you know, literally the rash sort of went away about 3 days before I went to base camp. I didn't know that it can take it out of you for a long time. And I started to feel unwell, and I was having a lot of pain and stuff like that. And it started to affect me like that. And, you know, I just talked to Andy about it and register it and have someone with you that's there to kind of like let you know that it's normal. Yeah. Stay in your own head for too long. Just accept the world as beautiful as it is and enjoy your trip.
Nice.
I can talk more about this, so if you want to have a
we'll do on it, but I've talked about that, Dave. We'll move on then. Niaz asked us general age group people on the trip. So across all of our trips, actually, it's generally between 35 to 55 on average. You know, we get a good mix. Like, it's not always, you know, full of youngsters or full of, you know, people who are mature. I was trying to think of the word then. It completely missed me. But yeah, it's a good mix on all of our trips. You know, so definitely, you know, if age, if you want to know sort of a group that you're looking at or a date that you're looking at, and you're sort of saying maybe, you know, if you want to be with a younger group, you know, that's fine. We appreciate that. You know, ask us and we could have a look. But generally, you know, we like to think that you go on any group and you'll have a good time regardless of age. You know, some of our best friends are 20 years older than us. into when you're on a trip. It's great. It's good to have a good mix. The same with sort of split male females as well. We tend to get more solo females on our trip. Whereas the guys always tend to go, I mean, I don't know why this is, but I'm just talking about stats now. The guys always seem to go with a mate. We generally get that on our trips. I mean, we do get some guys who go on their own, but mainly it seems to be solo women. But yeah, what else questions have we got?
Aaron,
yeah.
I need to learn. It's asked last time, and I was like, Bade or Badet. I'm not sure. But have we heard anything about COVID and how it's affected those people who have had it but not been tested, and whether that'll be altituded, and whether that has an effect with insurance and things like that? So the honest answer is, because it's new to everybody, you know. Insurance companies that would cover you for like helicopter evacuation to Everest Base Camp, I don't think that they would class that as an ongoing condition or previous medical condition. I think the main things that affect you are like chronic conditions, like diabetes, heart disease, stuff like that is what tends to sort of cause the insurance people to go, But to be honest, I don't know. I think it largely depends on the individual and how they're feeling.
Yeah.
I know that it does, in severe cases, can cause some scar tissue on the lungs, which might affect your breathing for some time afterwards.
Yeah.
I think that if anyone has had anything like COVID and doesn't feel full fitness, and now booked on a trip, then we will move the trip. Because in my opinion, I think if you're not 100% in yourself, then it's best to sort of postpone and go when you are.
Yeah, definitely.
That's only from my own experience, going to base camp after shingles. I mean, I made it to base camp and I got down and I was fine. But it was a lot harder than I think it needed to be. And had I waited maybe 6 months, I could have gone and had a completely different trip, and it wouldn't have been as difficult as it was, and I could have enjoyed it a lot more. So yeah, hopefully that kind of answers it. Everything about COVID is a bit woolly at the moment, so hopefully that's
it's difficult, isn't it? Because there's always new stuff coming out as well, and I'm always conscious of what you hear in the media and what is fact. I'd always like to see some facts, but they never seem to be there. So you're always kind of, I got a lot of friends who work in the NHS, and they fed a little bit of advice to me, but it's hard to then sort of talk about that without it being fact. But yeah, I think it's almost, Karen, I think it's almost like if we do hear about anything around that, because we're always chatting to like the Altitude Centre we recently collaborated with, and like they come from the scientific point of view. If there's anything that does come about around that, we'll definitely update you. So a good question. Leah's asked about the Kili guides, Swahili speakers. Yeah, so they're all from Tanzania. And the national language is Swahili in Tanzania. There's actually, I think there's over 70 languages in Tanzania, or even more than that because of different dialects.
Yeah.
There's a lot of languages. They're multi-bilingual.
Yeah, there's loads, yeah.
But
they speak English as well,
Yeah.
So they do speak English, but yeah, you'll get used to it, Mambo. But
one of those phrases are great, aren't they? Mambo, poa, habari, nazuri.
Yeah. Yeah, Leah. Awesome. Let's jump into it. Boots. Right, now we're getting into it.
Always boots.
Yeah. So if you're doing I'm assuming Kilimanjaro, but mind you, Everest, you still start off in a forest sort of thing as well. So yeah, personally, I can give you a specific recommendation. I think the Maindel Boutans are the best boots that I've used so far for hiking. They were recommended to me. But I didn't get them initially because I'd stayed away from leather boots for such a long time because of the worries about breaking them in and stuff like that. But actually, those Maindel Boutans they required no breaking in, really. I wore them casually, just out and about for 2 weeks before I went to base camp. Certainly didn't go hiking in them. And they were perfect. And since then, they've done base camp twice in Kili. And I love them so much. Yeah. I'm worried that one day they'll go obsolete and I won't be able to get them again. So I'm considering stockpiling these Maindel Boutans, buying like about 5 pairs. So that should be a lifetime supply. But yeah, I think you don't need any mountaineering boots. We recommend boots over sort of trainers, like, the approach shoes, just for the ankle support and extra sort of sole support and stuff like that. But nice. Look at those.
No, Dave's always the one with equipment. But Scott, really good question. Thought I'd just answer this one. You mentioned about sorting sort of dates with us. When you pay a deposit, which is a lifetime deposit, meaning that you can move your date anytime. We've realized, I mean, even before COVID happened, we've always been really flexible. And I think that's, that's been handy, especially because we haven't really been involved with flights. I know it is a big issue, but it's meant that we can reschedule a dates quite easy. As long as it's not like a few days before you arrive. But generally, we know life happens. Things happen in life, and you get injured. Maybe you have an unexpected baby. There's things that happen, and we've always been as flexible as we can. So say you booked on to say autumn 21, and then come maybe next summer, you're like, okay, it's not going to be possible now. Can I move it to 2022 and beyond? Then look, just give us a bell and we'll move you on to a different date. It's not a problem. It's quite easy for us to do. And look, if you've booked with us, say you've done Everest Base Camp, you've done Kili, we're going to get you to Kili. We're going to get you to Everest Base Camp. That's what we're here for. We're trekkers and hikers just like you guys. And, if I booked on a trip that I really wanted to go on, I'm going to go on that trip, even if I injure myself. And, it's just a matter of when. So just let us know, Scott, if anything like that. And, we'd love to have you with us, mate.
Awesome. Brilliant update at the moment. It's bad debt, not bad day. So
here we go. Thanks, Karen.
That's
get it right next time, Dave. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Leah, was it Leah asked about the boots? I think it was.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Sell those boots. Yeah. So I've just told Lauren, and Lauren's going to bounce it to you. It's the Maindel Boutans. They do ones. They do women's as well, which I think are designed for a narrower foot. Not 100% sure, but try them both. See which one works for you. I know some girls that like a wider one, so they use the dudes one.
Yeah. Amanda made a good point as well. Go outdoors. They do price match and take 10% off. Yeah, they're really good actually with the Maindel Boutans. Don't forget as well, if you do book with us, get your discount code for Cotswold Outdoor.
Yeah,
15% off. You can download the voucher. It's a brand new voucher as well to the end of the year because they do it every year. So we'll update the new one when we get the new one.
Amanda got 70 quid off for those. That's awesome.
That's pretty damn good, actually.
Yeah, it's not like my idea of
they're not cheap.
Yeah.
Let's have a little look. What else we got? We got lots here. Again, lots of boots. It's funny because before me and Dave always start these lives, like, right, we're going to talk about this. But Dave, you can tackle the boots questions.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's just because I'm a degenerate with them, like I own about 12 pairs because it took me that long to land on the Maindel. So the reason why I'm banging on about them all the time is because they've been marvelous for me. I want to clarify actually an important part of the boot, which is often overlooked, is when you buy a pair of boots, you need to get a really good insole. Some of them come with a good insole. Personally, I didn't think the Maindels did. So I bought the Superfeet Trailblazer insoles, largely because they were like 35 quid for a pair of insoles. And I was kind of intrigued as to why. So again, being the degenerate I am, I bought them. I had to cut them with a Stanley blade to get them to fit properly. But actually, I mean, just amazing. They are brilliant. And for me, at least, they put so much stability under my feet that like I was having a bad knee, and that's almost gone now, from hiking. I don't really suffer with my knee anymore. And it was all down to the stability underfoot. So yeah, that's been an amazing one.
Yeah, great stuff. I'm just going through all the questions here. Cheers, guys. There's some loads of questions. Apologies, we're just trying to go through all of them before we lose them there. But Chris asked a really good one. Great to see you on here, Chris. Excuse me. Just about taking different pain relief, altitude sickness relief medication, EBC. Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, I got to be honest, we probably take more pills at high altitude than it's kind of weird because you're like, I'm not used to taking this amount of medication. But look, using painkillers, for headaches and things, that's fine. What the problem is if you're constantly hiding it. If you're taking it and then it doesn't go within a few days, this is where you need to sort of think, okay, this isn't going away now. The painkillers clearly aren't working. You don't want to mask symptoms for a big length of time. In saying that, I've used painkillers. I know Dave has. Also Diamox as well. You mentioned around high altitude medication, which is Diamox or acetylazamide, they call it, and you can use that.
Yeah.
Back I'd say a couple of years ago, we kind of had a different mindset on it. Now, it's a great tool at your disposal. I mean, our guides carry it. Some people like to take their own. We took our own last time. I didn't actually use them, but I know most of the team did.
I did, yeah. I think you were the only person that didn't on Kilimanjaro.
Yeah, I seem to be all right. But I know that, Dave, you took it for the first time, really. And, yeah, I mean, tell us about your experiences with it.
Exactly. I mean, so with regards to the painkillers, I mean, I think you made a really good point there, which is, to be honest, everybody does, because getting a mild headache is normal for altitude. It's like going out in the rain and getting wet. You go to altitude, you might get a headache. So you will naturally take some
going to happen,
paracetamol and stuff like that, just to take the edge off. But it's important to acknowledge it and not just take the pills and forget about it. So if you take a couple of pills and it doesn't get better and it gets progressively worse, then that's something you need to be aware of and talk to the guide about. So it's a good point Andy made there about, there's a difference between sort of helping your headache and masking the overall symptoms of something.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing that. I mean, it's
ultimately altitude will win.
Limited altitude, as much as you can have.
But
as we like to say.
In Diamox, so when I first started trekking at altitude, I never took Diamox, and I never wanted to, because I wanted to, like, I don't know whether it was ego or what. I don't think so, but I wanted to know that I could do it. But my views have completely changed on it now. Now I believe that it doesn't make a blind bit of difference how you get there. If you want to reach Everest Base Camp and you want to get the achievement, and Diamox is the way for you to do it safely, then that's what you need to do it safely. It doesn't diminish anything. It's that realization is because I've done many trips now, mainly to Everest Base Camp, but also on Kili, which I'll get to. And I've seen people, upset in tears because they think the trip is over, because they're so resistant to taking the Diamox. And once you sit them down and you have a conversation, they'll take a Diamox tablet, and then they wake up the morning and they're feeling great again. All of a sudden, they're able to enjoy the trip and shed a tear at base camp and achieve something amazing. And does it really matter? It
doesn't. 100%.
Exactly. And then last February on Kilimanjaro, I had the Diamox again. But my usual thing is, I'll start the trip with the Diamox there, and if I need it, I'll take it. And I got to about day 4, I think it was, where we go up to Lava Tower. Day 3 or 4. And I just started feeling unusual. I know how I react to altitude, and I wasn't reacting the same. I started to feel a bit like my gait was off, and I was a little bit dizzy and things like that. So, and I just thought to myself, well, I'm gonna do the safe and responsible thing, and I'm gonna take Diamox because I can look after myself. And if I'm feeling well and strong, I can also maybe look after other people. And everybody should think that way.
Good
I
point.
started half a pill in the evening and then half a pill the next morning, and I stuck to that routine until I got back down. And I felt fine, and it made the difference. I was able to celebrate on the summit with Andy and the rest of the guys. And it was amazing. So my argument is, yes, if you need Diamox or you want to take Diamox, or it's safer for you to take Diamox, 100% take it. If you have a bad knee, you'll take ibuprofen. If you have a headache, you'll take paracetamol. If you have altitude, you can take Diamox. Just Mark Skinner, because he's caught my eye, will GP prescribe it? They should do. Now,
some don't, do they? Some don't like to.
The difference is that it's not designed for altitude. I believe it was designed for glaucoma.
Epilepsy, is it something like that?
I think glaucoma and epilepsy, but it's now almost exclusively used, I think, for altitude sickness.
It is.
To prevent altitude sickness. But not every GP is an altitude specialist. They don't know what its use is for, and they're a bit reluctant to prescribe you something that they're not sure about. So what I recommend is go to a travel clinic like Nomad, and you can go in there and meet a nurse who's a travel specialist who understands altitude and altitude sickness and the Diamox, and they can prescribe it for you, and everything else as well, like your malaria pills and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly. Good point, Dave. I'm just going to bring it in here before it disappears, because I saw it. Brian, current feeling, viability of the autumn book trips. Big question. So basically at the moment, Brian, I know there's been a few people here who have sort of asked about it. We're really positive about going ahead. I mean, at the moment, Nepal are opening their borders the end of this month. So we're quite excited about that. The issues are always, you're wondering, is there going to be a second spike? Because you just don't know. I mean, we're like you guys. We're waiting for the government, and we're waiting for different things to come about. I suppose the benefit we have, we're constant communication with all the countries' tourism boards, through our suppliers. So we kind of get information quite soon. We're hoping that the 2-week, the 14-day quarantine is over by that time, because it means that if you come back, you don't have to quarantine for 14 days. But as far as we're concerned, it's almost like our trips are going ahead at this moment in time. But we're always, that's why we're offering the flexibility. If you're not happy with waiting, then you can reschedule. There's no charge on that. There's nothing at all. Like we said earlier, we want to get you to these places. If you've booked to go to Everest, if you've booked to go to Kili, we're going to get you there. It's just a matter of time. So, you can reschedule if you need to, although you don't have to, because, they're going to be going ahead at this moment in time. So, yeah, we have big confidence. I mean, every day we have a chat about it, and we're speaking to our suppliers in Nepal, our people in the other countries, and, any major update, if they said, okay, it's definitely not going to happen, then we'd let you guys know. But I know it's like, it's difficult, the uncertainty at the moment across everything. I mean, you can see that the sort of trend is going really well, but you just never know. So we like you guys, we can't wait to get back on these adventures. It's what we're here for. So yeah, we'll definitely update you as soon as we can. So I hope that answers your question a little bit, Brian, and the rest of you that mentioned that one. Dave, I'm just going through because
Bardette has asked, what about dodgy knees on the descents? Do poles make a big difference? Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Go for it, Dave.
They definitely make a big difference. There's some statistic out there where they take something like 30% of the impact and weight off your knees when you're going up and down.
Yeah.
I find them pretty helpful for going downhill, particularly on Kilimanjaro on the way down. It's quite loose terrain. So being able to put them out in front of you and get your arms involved, makes sure that not all the weight and pounding is on your legs and your knees. So it can make a huge difference. The biggest thing you can do though is go slow and methodical. Make sure you place your feet in the right place and stuff like that. It's quite hard at altitude because you get tired and fuzzy headed. So you see people trip. But it's just about taking time just to plant your feet safely and use the poles. I always recommend poles. I never used to use them.
Yeah, you didn't do. Yeah, I'm the same. I use them all the time now.
But yeah, like when I was, in fact, I'm 37 now, so closer to 40 than I am 30. When I was closer to 30, I wouldn't use them. Now I'm closer to 40, I'm starting to, because the joints are not not as good as they were before. But
no, good man. No, but they do make a difference. You definitely make a difference. I've noticed that because I always used to like to have a hand spare, just in case, or I had the GoPro just holding it up. But now I use two, and it gets you in a bit of a rhythm as well. That you can get in with your breathing.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's kind of easier because once you're in a rhythm and you just get used to it, you can just take it all in. You tend to acclimatize better, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, some good questions coming up here. I know someone asked about, are there any side effects to Diamox? I think it was Tony mentioned it. Tony, I'm just trying to find your question here. So yeah, with Diamox, there are some side effects. It can, it's a diuretic, so it makes you wee more.
Yeah.
You've got to drink more water, and at high altitude, you're already drinking 3 to 4 liters. You've got to add another liter onto that. That's a kind of biggie, really. Other than that, I mean, some people do say that it kind of masks the side effects. It masks or it makes you mask symptoms, or it makes you unwell. Never really seen that, from experience. But again, it's like any drug that you take. There's always going to be some side effects. You get, say you even pick up paracetamol, and you've got that little list.
Yeah.
Side effects that can happen on there. It's very similar. Very, very, very rarely will you have any bad side effects to it.
Yeah.
I've had my family who I've put on Diamox, some of my best friends. I'd take it if I had to. I've taken half a pill once at Gorekshep. I just needed a good night's sleep, because I had a resting heart rate of 130, which was like, okay, this isn't right. When it comes to it, I don't mind taking it. So, it really is like, if it's obviously you want to prioritize your health, but with Diamox, it's certainly a safe thing to use. But again, chat to your GP. As Dave said, it's always good to chat to a specialist, because not every GP understands every single drug that's out there, especially Diamox, because of high altitude. It's quite niche. So definitely speak to a travel specialist or a high altitude specialist if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another one is, Dave Rimington's brought up a good point there. He seems to be quite know a little bit about, but also on the topic of medication. And I think Chris Tom asked about what vaccinations and things that you have as well. So we may carry on that theme.
Yeah.
with regards to the anti-malarials, I've only
Yeah,
tried
Fanatic, yeah.
I've only tried doxycycline or Silene,
Yeah,
and Malarone.
Valorant, yeah.
In my opinion, I didn't really have any major side effects. I know one of them, Larium, I think, can cause some degree of psychosis. So I thought, I'm not going to have that one. But yeah, so the Doxy, the only downside with that is I believe that's an antibiotic, and it attacks the malaria in your blood. So you have to take it 2 weeks before and then for a month afterwards. So 4 weeks after you get back, you're still taking this antibiotic because it can take that long for the malaria to reach the blood where it gets killed off by the doxy. Malarone I tried, which I think gets it in the liver, possibly in the liver. You take that for like 2 days before you go and then like a week after you come back. And the only side effect I had with doxy, which it turns you into a bit of a vampire. So you have to stay out of direct sunlight.
Yeah, sun, isn't it? Yeah.
You'll burn easier. And also some degree of stomach upset. So you've got to take it with like a pint of water. The only side effect with Malarone, and it's not strictly a negative.
No, it's pretty good.
Yeah, you have like some pretty mental dreams, you know, being transported into something like a Lord of the Rings every night when you go to sleep. You know?
It's pretty crazy, yeah. It does mess with your head a little bit. But again, you know, there's side effects to every single drug out there. But Doxy and Malarone are two of the safest.
Yeah.
You know, definitely like, you know, for ladies out there as well, if you're on the pill, you know, or you just basically have a chat with your GP or travel clinic, and they'll give you the relevant, you know, the relevant sort of anti-malarials, because some anti-malarials do play, they affect the pill. So definitely have a chat with your GP or travel clinic if you're going to like Tanzania, for instance. You don't need them if you're going to Nepal, but mainly Tanzania, you do need anti-malarials.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so for the other things that you need to do, one of them, the first one that most people ask about is rabies. Do you need a rabies vaccination to go to these countries? Well, rabies is considered an optional one because it's there, but it presents a low risk. And that's for Tanzania and Nepal, and any of the countries like that we go to. Yeah. So it's really up to you, and you need to make a judgment call. We can't make it for you, and no one can. I'm fully vaccinated against it because I have a slight problem with petting animals that I see. You know, like if I see a dog on a trail, he's getting a ruffle.
Yeah, you're in there, aren't you?
Yeah. So so if I see a dog, he's getting petted. I'm making friends with that dog. So I've got myself fully vaccinated. Andy has a little more self-control. He doesn't tend to go near the dog. Are you vaccinated on rabies now?
No, not yet.
Oh yeah,
I will be. I mean, I haven't. It's kind of weird because I've done a lot of traveling around Asia and Africa and a lot of places where rabies is a lot. It's always weird. Historically, I've always been a bit more risque with traveling, but when it comes to rabies and things, I mean, it's something I'm definitely getting for my next trip out. Definitely get it before then.
Yeah,
you know, but it's an optional one. It is expensive, but you know, it can be sort of life-saving in certain points. But you know, again, it's an optional one. You don't have to have it. There's lots of optional ones like Japanese encephalitis. I know, Dave, you've had that, haven't you? Because you pretty much go for everyone that's available, right?
Yeah. Everything, because I'll get it.
So like, you would.
Actually, Japanese encephalitis is the one I haven't had. It was meningitis.
That's it. Meningitis.
Pretty much everything. So if I go to a travel clinic and they say these are the list of vaccinations you need to go to Tanzania, then I'll be a pincushion for the next half an hour while I get them all. But that's because of my mindset. You know, like Andy will tell you, since I've had shingles, if I get a rash, I'm like, Andy, is that shingles?
I know what you mean. But right, let's have a look then. So Tamarin, I believe, just booked into base camp, which is awesome.
I spoke to Tamarin.
You spoke to Tamarin this morning, didn't you? So with regards to water filter bottles, so just to put it out there, back in February last year, 2019, we introduced water filters in the pool. So, and all of our trips now. So basically you don't need, I mean, you can take your own water bottle. There's no worries. I do. Just if you're next to a stream, you can fill up and you can drink straight out of it. But we provide purified water on all of our trips now.
Yeah.
You know, so you don't need to buy plastic bottles anymore. We're big on this. You know, it's made a big difference on all of our trips. You know, we've saved tens of thousands of plastic bottles on our trips, and we're quite passionate about stopping that. You know, especially in Nepal, because that's where it was at its biggest issue. Also, as well, it means you don't have to take any chlorine tablets because it does give you heartburn. It's not good for you. But yeah, in terms of water filter bottles, we've definitely, we've used them ourselves. So take one, but you don't need them because you can just use our water filters that the guides actually do it all for you.
Yeah, to be honest, I carry one. I've got a life straw.
Excuse me.
So I've got two. Brilliant. But yeah, so but the main reason I use it for, so weirdly, is brushing my teeth. So you know, particularly in Nepal, in Kili, because it's camping, anytime you have water near you, it's already been treated and it's fine to use.
Yeah.
But on Kilimanjaro, on Everest, there's the tea houses, and quite often they'll have a tap or something like that from a water source. So if I wake up in the morning and I have my breakfast and I'm brushing my teeth, I'll fill it up with my water filter and then I'll use the water out my water filter to brush my teeth. And that's pretty much it. Or, take a bottle to bed with you and stuff like that, so you got something to drink in the night. That's the only reason I'll really have one. But even if all you ever did was bring a water bladder in your rucksack and a normal bottle, you're not going to go without safe water.
Yeah, exactly. There's been loads of questions today, guys. Honestly, it's brilliant. It's great to see so many people on here again. I know last week was nuts when we did the live announcement for the competition, but this is great. We did have a question from Niaz again. He asked, sorry, Niaz, we sort of bumped over your question there, but you meant what would the expect equipment cost for a trek and for a sleeping bag and jacket? Well, if you're going on to Nepal, sleeping bag and your down jacket are actually included in Nepal, so you don't need to buy them. You can use ours free if you like. Some people like to get their own just because hygiene or just because they want to get one. It's like as soon as you book a trip, you feel like you need to go to buy all the equipment. Just it's part of the journey, isn't it? I love doing that. But if you want to save a few bob, you can use ours in Nepal. In places like Kili, Morocco, Peru, at the hotel, there's actually a space where you can actually rent those if you don't have them. Very cheap. You're talking like for instance in Kilimanjaro, I think it was only about £20, and you could hire it for the whole trek. Which is peanuts really, and then you don't have to worry about carrying it over there and sort of getting yours dirty if you like. Just use ours. So yeah, there's one. I hope that kind of answers your question with regards to like cost of all your equipment. It depends on what you own, but generally, with regards to your equipment, if you're already into hiking in the UK or wherever you are, you've probably got most of it anyway.
Yeah.
Because you don't need any. Dave mentioned earlier, you don't need any technical gear really. Unless you're doing anything like Island Peak or Mera Peak, or soon to be Aconcagua. There will be where you might need some sort of climbing equipment. You don't really need any other equipment, technical equipment as such. So again, when it comes to costs, it depends on what you already own. Obviously, the more you need, then the more it'll cost. We do have we do have an equipment list on our website on our knowledge center. I don't know if the Social Yeti's on here, but she can find that article and post it up.
Yeah. Also, Cotswold Outdoors. Don't forget that.
Excuse me.
So yeah, if you do buy anything from Cotswold Outdoors, you get 15% off. So the code is in your members area. If you haven't got a members area, then email us and we'll speak to you about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, exactly. You don't have to be like, although I have a lot of equipment, I'm not an equipment snob, So like, if I can find something that works just as well, that costs me a £5, then I'll buy it. Also, it all depends. Like if I need something quick and I'm only going to use it once or twice, I'll just get the cheapest stuff that I can get, just to get by. Because we tend to use that kit a lot, and I like it to last years. Then I have found that the more expensive stuff that you buy just lasts longer because it's better made and have better materials and stuff like that. But certainly, if you're just getting started, you don't have to spend a huge amount. I used to get all my base layers from Aldi.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, before the first base camp trip, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they were great. I still use some of them now, to be honest. But yeah, that's.
Sorry, I just saw Reese's comment there. Is it true you buy everyone's beer on the trip? I'd love to, Reese. I'd love to. If you're ever out hiking with me or anything, I'll definitely buy you a beer.
He said all the beer.
All the beer. Wow. Okay. Not all the beer. Not all the beer, unfortunately, Reese. But no, we certainly like to keep hydrated and make sure that on an altitude trip, we're always sort of keen to point out that you don't want to drink on the way up, but once it's done, on the way down, having a beer and celebrating your achievements, what you want. It's great. I mean, we always tend to have a few beers after, even if it's in the UK, on our training weekends, we tend to, after a full day's walking, we'll go and sit in a nice little country pub and dissect the day over a pint of Guinness. Brilliant.
Or maybe some kukri rum.
That's a different story there. There might be some dancing involved, Dave.
Actually, hang on. So yeah, there's a special.
You've got your little, that's a little gift from Nepal, right?
Little gift from Nepal, yeah. So when I was there in October, Anuj gave me this. It's a shame to drink it. I thought about just filling it with Coke or something, but that's the kukri of kukris, that bad boy.
That is very, very high end. Well, look, we're going through now. I think we've answered all the questions there, Dave. But look, it's been awesome to have everyone on again today. I know we've been almost an hour again, but these fly by, these Q&As.
Crazy.
I hope that's been valuable for you. Apologies if there's certain questions as we're going through we haven't picked it up, but we will try and sort of go through. If you have any big ones, don't forget you can just go onto the website, use the messenger bot, send us, there's a messenger at the bottom right, just send us a little message there. Email info@evertrek.co.uk, or even send us a little Facebook message to the inbox, to the EverTrek page. But yeah, Dave, it's been great. Another nice talk about asthma, and obviously eventually we went on to equipment.
Yeah, it's awesome. I did notice earlier that Olivia and now Kim has said it. Do we podcast these episodes? So yeah, if you check out the Mountain Malarkey podcast, on wherever you get your podcasts, so Apple Podcasts or wherever,
Spotify or anyway.
Mountain Malarkey podcast is our podcast, and all of these episodes, including some that we record specifically just for the podcast, we're gonna do a podcast this week, aren't we? And we're gonna record.
So separately. I mean, we put these as podcasts because we had some feedback. We also on YouTube as well. So if you don't, you can rewatch these. We don't pop them into YouTube normally by Thursday. We appreciate not everyone's on Facebook, so we always put these on. And then plus we've had people saying, look, go into the gym. Can you podcast? So we put them on podcasts, so you can just listen to us instead of just watching. But no, it's been great. It's been really nice. Great to have so many questions. Be back next week. Obviously, if you're part of the community and you've entered the competition, you might have had some discount codes sent to you. Don't forget, you've still got I think it's 7 days left.
Yep.
So anything around booking a trip with us, whether that Kili, EBC, to Everest or Island Peak or Machu Picchu, whatever it is, just fire it our way. That's what we're here for.
Awesome.
Great stuff. Cheers, Dave. But thanks very much, guys. We'll catch you next week.
Thank you, guys. Speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.